Ooh, it's hot, and we're coming in hot this week. Center of attention is back. Enjoying being outside of the heat and the sun. Hopefully, everybody's enjoyed their summer so far. I was looking at it, and August 12th is when my students return. So I am coming up on just about a month. This Saturday is a month until my students return. So that'll be great. Looking at some things, and this kind of broke over. Uh, it wasn't when we were on a break, but like Nico, it was around the time where Nico left for training camp, so it was going to be like situations like this. It's probably better to wait a little bit, and I figured it was better to wait a little bit. But Penn State is in the news not because of all of the good things that I normally talk about on this show, and since I have been a pretty outspoken proponent of what Cale Sanderson and the Nittany Lion College Wrestling Program has been. I want to make sure that I also address this because I think that there are quite a few outlets that are taking a different approach, and I just don't feel like that's right. Like, you can benefit off of their success. You should also mention and give light to the negative things, because in this situation, we unfortunately have some alleged victims. There is nothing confirmed, so everything has to be preceded with alleged. But there are alleged victims who had their stories misinterpreted, intentionally pushed under the rug. If you know about Penn State, there was a very similar feel to this as the former scandal with the football team. It wasn't as systematic. There wasn't as much going on, but there was negligence on the people who were reported to try and have this situation resolved. But five-time national champion Carter Starachi was accused by two separate students, and now it's come out to be more than just the two initial allegations of sexual harassment. He's also been accused of sexual harassment by his wrestling teammates in the locker room. He's also been accused of theft, stealing thousands of dollars just out of other guys' bags while they're in the locker room, stealing shoes. And he had a couple other teammates that would go around with him, but since Starachi is the one that has the other allegations, he's been kind of the face of this. Bo Bartlett, another really high-level guy. He was the wrestler that came out and told the story of what was going on in the locker room. And I'll just clean it up this way. Starachi was sticking digits in places that people don't want digits stuck into without asking permission. And there's a line between playing around with your buddies and then doing something like that. And I feel like everybody understands that there's escalations to this, there's levels to this, and what Carter Starachi was doing in the locker room. And I tend to believe it because why would that be? Like, Bo Bartlett is a very successful wrestler in his own right. He does not need to be tearing down one of his greatest teammates of all time just to get some attention. I don't think that has anything to do with this at all. This is just very strange to me because of what was going on. Like I said, read the article if you want to get all down to the nitty gritty, but it would piss me off if somebody on my team in my locker room was stealing stuff out of my locker. Like, that's a big, big fucking deal. And it was reported to your coach, who knew about it for months, and Cale Sanderson did not do anything to Carter Starachi because he was winning. He won a Big Ten championship. He won his 5th national championship. The team won their 12th or 14th. I can't even remember anymore. Their team national championship. Yet outlets like Flow Wrestling, obviously people that are close to it, Cale Sanderson himself decided to pull the wool over his eyes, allow for this predator to continue to harass, allegedly, his teammates and other students on the campus. And that's where it steps over a line. As a former college athlete, we were talked to every single season. Like, you have to go into everything with a positive demeanor because you are bigger, stronger, faster, more aggressive. People will be intimidated by you. You cannot be going around and doing some stuff. And yeah, it's obviously, if this is false, if there's nuance to it, I'll make sure to be keeping up on what the story is going forward. But if this is true, this is a bombshell in that Penn State wrestling program. I don't know how you keep Cale Sanderson around if it does come out that he truly did not do a single thing and possibly tried to cover up this. It's petty grand larceny with the amount of things that were being stolen and the amount of things being turned over in the locker room. But yeah, wanted to get that out, center of attention. I know Nico doesn't follow college wrestling, so there wasn't a point to bringing, both of us into it. We could talk a little bit about just the teammate aspect, but that was what I've been thinking about over the last few months, trying to make sure everything came out in the correct way. We are on to episode 238 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. Nico's coming in on the other side of the intro.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.
Here we are. You're back from Missouri. I'm not sitting on a lawnmower. Yeah, that was. I know that you hadn't heard about that, and I hadn't brought it up yet because, like I said, I wanted to try and see what was going on. But I was thinking about it just like as my former experience in the locker room. There's got to be so much going wrong. Like if for this to come out and for this to be as public as it is, obviously there's something going on, and I'm interested to see what was happening. But yeah, I guess that's how I decided to kick this week off. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, like I had no idea anything about that, and frankly, it hasn't been publicized anywhere. So I'm glad you were able to touch on it. So
Yeah, it's weird how when you're really good and you win lots of national championships, anything negative, especially in Happy Valley, Pennsylvania, they will just kind of forget about all of that and move forward. We are here with our 238th episode. We have some summer stuff to talk about. We're going to get into some movie talk because big movies are coming out. We're doing this a little bit earlier in the day because Nico's going to be going to see a movie. I was going to say, if it's Superman, I'm going to be jealous because I haven't decided to take myself there. It'll be on my list, obviously. But we'll have our top 5 list of superhero movies, do our normal segments. Not going to be super, super long because it is truly dead. Like some of the things I've been listening to on sports talk radio, 45 minutes of how you should cook a tomahawk steak, whether it should be seared, reverse seared, salt, peppered, spread, all of that. That is where we're at currently. And I think somebody did top 10 backup quarterback rankings. Like PFF released a list like that. So we're not that deep into the weeds, but there are some things to touch on.
And the main thing that every sports radio show in Denver has been talking about for the last 3 days, because they've had 3-hour shows on this topic every single week, is what the hell is going on with Jonas Valinciunus, a guy who I dubbed it last week as the biggest offseason move that the Nuggets have made all offseason long. He is it's been an interesting situation for those that have been living under a rock. He apparently agreed verbally to a contract with Panathinaikos, whatever.
Really good Greek basketball team.
Very good Greek basketball team with a team that has like Kendrick Nunn, who's a former player. Juancho, our good friend Juancho Hernan-Gomez plays over there. Movie star Juancho Hernan-Gomez.
Star of Hustle, if you're not aware.
And lots of other lower level NBA players are on that team, and he was a guy they were sought after and a guy that they felt like they were in his grasp. But which I'll get into the details of how the agent fucked up a little bit later. But let's just put it this way: is that you can't get out of contracts that easily. Crazy to think that. Crazy when you sign a 3-year deal.
That's why you have to sign a contract in ink. You can't just get it.
You can't just get out of contracts like that. It's a weird situation.
Nico, there's a lot of Gen Z and younger listeners to podcasts, and they're going to be scrolling on social media. You just blew their mind. You just dropped an atomic bomb on their existence. If I sign something, there's consequences to me signing something?
It's wild that Jonas Valinciunus decided he was going to sign a 3-year deal in New Orleans, of all places. With that horrible team, and then be like, you know what? Actually, after a year and a half, 2 years, I'm good. I'm good. I'm all right. I don't want to do this anymore. When you have the contract signed, guaranteed, and the details of this contract are so interesting because he obviously was in Sacramento, which obviously Sacramento is basketball hell for the West Coast. Okay, if you want to see where careers go to die, it's Sacramento, unfortunately. And what's been going on with Sacramento last 2 years? This is the second year in a row that a player for Sacramento has decided I want to avoid my contract and pay all the money back.
I'll pay you what I'm supposed to be paid. Shit.
I can't remember who the guy was last year, but he was a middle of the road level player and a guy that got sparingly minutes. He said, I don't want to finish my contract here, and the NBA let him out of it. Well, there's a difference between the Denver Nuggets and the Sacramento Kings is that the Valinciunus has a chance to win an NBA championship and be on a real contender for the first time in his career. Look at the teams he was on, right? Toronto during their worst days. He got traded to Memphis before they got Kawhi Leonard. Memphis, bad days, right? He got sent to New Orleans, horrible team at that time. Gets sent to Sacramento, who's been middle of the road. Never been on a real NBA title contender. He's been on 5 different teams in 5 years. And the whole reason for this situation being upon us is because he moved his family back to Lithuania last year. And 5 different teams in 5 different years means one thing. You haven't stayed in the same home for more than a year. You haven't lived in one place for more than a year. That's tough on families, tough on everything else. And Valinciunus thought that, you know what? I've had enough of this. The NBA is not treating me well. I'm just going to go to Greece and be close to my family and know where I can play a little bit longer and be a star player over there. But the second half part of that is that obviously the Denver Nuggets are a different situation. It's a much different situation that he's played in, a much different situation than what he's been with. He'll be a backup center. Obviously, he's been a starting center for most of his career. He'll have sparingly minutes. But the thing that the Denver Nuggets are realizing over time is, like, obviously he's the best option we have. And if you're not able to secure this, you can secure him returning, you'll either A, get that money back, which he'll just forgave all that money, or B, he'll be the best backup center in the NBA, and I don't think that's even a question. Right up there with Brook Lopez behind Zubac. So, like, it's a tough situation. It's a weird situation because, like, when a guy has been tossed around the league by so many mid teams and not really strong contenders, where, like, he was like, you know what, I've had enough. I can be close to family, this, that, the other thing. I don't blame the guy. I don't blame the guy at all. When you've been tossed around so much that it's been, like, unexcusable for your family to live in one place. Like, look, let's be honest with you. Jonas Valanciunas is not going to spend his offseason and his free time in Denver. Neither does Nikola Jokic. He's not nowhere to be seen around here. He's in somewhere Serbia watching his horses.
Win, by the way. His horses win.
Exactly. So, like, it's a everything that came out today has been very, very exciting because everything looks like he's pointing to being a Denver Nugget. But, like, if the guy doesn't want to play for your team, that's one thing. It's another thing if a guy has personal reasons that he can overcome, right? Because, like, let's be honest. This Papa whatever team in Greece, this contract, if they wanted that bad, will be there next year.
Yeah. Where
he has a 1-year option. So he could play this year out, possibly win a championship here in Denver, and then go to Greece, be closer to his family. Like, look, I don't think this Papa whatever team in Greece realizes this. This is the big leagues. The NBA.
You're going to have a lot of Europeans. A lot of Europeans, when they listen back to this show, are going to be very upset with you.
And Altitude Sports Radio already took the heat from Greece. But do you not realize if the NBA wanted to snap their fingers, you wouldn't have a team anymore, and you'd be run by them?
That's just the NBA. And imagine if they have some NFL owners that are friends. The NFL could wipe out the entirety of the continent.
Did you see the Devin Booker deal that just came through? He's getting paid 3 times more than Patrick Mahomes is right now. The NBA has dumb money.
Yeah,
there's football money. There's dumb monty that the NBA
it's all fully guaranteed, which is also why they have so much teeth. They're gonna send the fucking equalizer after you if they get screwed over with that giant lump sum of money that they're giving you. They're sending the equalizer after you, and you're not getting out of that. He knows your family, he knows where you live, and he's gonna get that back one way or the other.
So let's put this in European terms for our European friends that are saying, like, well, why should he just stick with his contract? Let's put it this way. Cristiano Ronaldo, in the prime of his career, right, playing for Manchester United, had 1-year deal left on his contract. But here comes LA Galaxy, and they offer him the same amount of money and same amount of promotions. And he says, fuck you, Manchester United, I'm going to the States, playing for a lesser team in a lesser league. Do you not think that there would be an uproar? I understand Jonas Valanciunas is not fucking Cristiano Ronaldo. Okay, but at the same time, it's the same way. The Greece and European League is not even half of what the NBA is right now. Yeah. There is great talent over there. There is great talent. There's a reason why the worst talent in the NBA, if they don't make it, where do they go?
Pat Bev has been a very good player in Israel for the last however many seasons and wherever else he's made his
Facu Campazzo, one of the worst players in Nuggets history that I had to watch the last couple of years, was an MVP in Spain.
That's
That
true.
motherfucker won the MVP.
That's true. And by the way, people want to say basketball's become a world sport. I still will want to point this out. There are four countries that have won Olympic gold medals, and one of them is not a country anymore. They got split into a whole bunch of tiny little, ironically, where Jokic and Doncic are from.
The best players in the world play in the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Luka was a pro. Luka was a pro in that league.
I'm just.
And as soon as he could, he was like, I'm going to America. That's it.
People can hate on the U.S. all they want. We have the best hockey teams. We have the best professional football teams. We have the best basketball teams. And there's no fucking argument.
And all of you come here and retire and live here and vacation a lot. I never even realized how big the United States was. You can go the entire day and stay in the same state. Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, no shit. Look, everything that's come out the last couple of days, because I want to circle this back to Valinciunus, is that Jokic has talked to him. Right, Adelman's talked to him. Kroenke's have talked to him, and all signs are pointing to him staying because obviously the opportunity he wants. Right, the one thing, and I want to touch this more on this later, but like this felt more of a leverage play than anything. A leverage play that the agent was trying to use a team in Greece to have the second year picked up by Sacramento at the time, and the second year picked up by the Nuggets now in this time. Because obviously the team options begins not this at end of the season, or not beginning of this season, next year.
Wasn't he a starter?
He was a backup center.
Oh, I did.
He was a backup center behind Sabonis.
I thought that he was the starter, so I guess that makes a little bit more sense. Why the agent would feel like he needs leverage.
To circle back to this even more, like this whole discussion about him going to Greece happened before the Nuggets joined the picture. Like Sacramento's season was weeks done before, or a month before us. You don't think Valinciunus was like, I'm sick and tired of this after the season? Right? You don't think that, like obviously when the Nuggets came into the picture, things changed. And I think that's why it's been such a weird situation.
We've lost players based on fax machine issues before, Nico. So I guess anything is possible. We did say that this is a big thing. My wonder, and it's been posed on a couple of the places that I listen to, I get why Big Val makes sense. But if they're going to be fighting this hard to get a guy in, why isn't it pointed more towards somebody like Al Horford, who, yes, I know he's 6 years older than Valinciunus, still plays a lot in a bigger role as a former starter, NBA champion. And not only is he your backup center, but he could also be in that same starting rotation if you wanted to put them both on the floor and see how that goes. So why isn't there as much of a push for Al Horford if it was going to be this hard to get a guy coming in here anyways?
Because you got off Dario Saric's contract in this trade. It's because you're making the trade no matter what. Because either, like I said last week, you either A, get Jonas Valanciunas to this deal, or B, you get rid of Dario Saric and you get
addition by subtraction.
Exactly. So obviously with Valanciunas, like I said, the reason why they haven't even they've talked to Horford is what the reports have said. The reason why they haven't obviously signed him is because Valanciunas is under contract. Like I said at the beginning, he's under contract. When a guy's under contract, you can't just throw out money and say, Horford, if this guy doesn't come here, it's just sign for this much money. Horford doesn't want to wait. Right? I
feel like the Nuggets don't want to wait either, because if that is going to be plan B, Valanciunas needs to get figured out sooner than later so that they can make a more aggressive play towards Horford.
Well, I think it's getting sorted out in the next couple of days. I'd be very surprised if we come to this weekend and things will get sorted out. The way I see it is this way. If the Nuggets if the Nuggets get off Valanciunas, obviously Horford's the number one option. There's not many options behind him.
I heard the
next option after that is Vucevic from Chicago.
I was going to say the big from Chicago was the other name that I heard.
A buyout candidate, but he is also a horrible contract. What's the only way you'd make that deal work if you want to trade for him is you package Valanciunas, you package Zeke Naji, you send them to Chicago where they eat cap, and then you take. Then you take Vucevic's contract, which obviously Vucevic is good friends with Jokic. They play fucking World of Warcraft, wherever the hell they do together anyway. So that would be a seamlessly fit. But I understand the Horford and the play style and everything. He's 39 years old.
He does, but he doesn't look like it when he's playing.
I know he doesn't.
I don't know if he's going to look like it at 40 all of a sudden. Like that is a concern. That is a worry. That I think that's why Big Val was the first option. If I'm looking at it in a rational way, and obviously, like it's hard to be rational when it's the NBA offseason. We should have known that when we were speaking about it as, oh, ipso facto, this is going, this is going. The NBA doesn't go in straight lines. They curve. It's like walking into a kindergarten class and the bunny's over here, but all the colors over here. And you're like, we got to the same place, but that doesn't make sense. I have it up on the screen.
Horford may fit in better, like with this team, with the way his play style is and everything.
I think that he would. I think of the teams that he's looking at too, because the other big team is Golden State. The teams that he's looking at, this is
he's not ring chasing because he won a ring 2 years ago. So that's
it's the other. Like now he's got the hunger. His team got bounced in the second round last year. He's got the hunger. This team has the hunger. Like there's a lot of things that line up pretty perfectly. If I was fitting a jigsaw puzzle, I feel like the sky would be done if we got Al Horford, and then we can figure out other issues because. I've also been now we have to bring into the conversation the possibility of Bruce or Christian Brown's contract at some point.
We'll get to all that because Jokic's contract was also a conversation this week. But I will say this. I believe Valinciunus is a better player right now in their careers than Horford. I think he's a better defender. I think he has a better outside shot. I don't think he does the tangible things that Jokic does like Horford does.
And you can't and there's no versatility. You can't play him with Jokic. It's got to be a one or the other situation.
Which we don't even know that, honestly, to be honest with you, because we've seen 7-footer lineups with Chet and Hartenstein over there in Oklahoma City. Obviously Jokic isn't as athletic as Chet, but I would not be surprised if we saw that.
We'll get to Chet because I saw something right before we got on.
I would not be surprised at all before we jump the ship. I would not be surprised at all with that line variation. But look, all signs are pointing to him to be in Denver Nuggets this year, and now he's playing the season now. I think that's the right decision. Horford can go sign in Golden State, where the 4 best players are 35, 37, 37, 38 years old with him. 39 years old with him. Draymond, Steph, Jimmy, Horford. I didn't realize this is 2015.
It's a retirement community.
Yeah, I didn't realize this is 2015.
It's a nice nursing home. It's not going to be too loud. The stadium's nice. You can keep an eye on everybody with the cameras. So if somebody wanders off because they have dementia because they're 40 years old, you can keep them all in the same place. That's the thing. The agent will. I can't wait when we get to the agent talk because I'm sure you've talked to your dad about this situation too, and you're going to have a cool perspective on this. But there wasn't any reason why this was the situation with Denver. Like if you look at the Nuggets now, this made sense if it was 2015, like you were saying, when the Nuggets were barely, I think that was the year that we lost out on the playoffs by a game. If you're looking at the Nuggets team then and saying, I can either play in Greece and buy myself out of my NBA contract or come play here, that makes it a little bit more sense. The way things have been going the last few years, why don't you want to be with this team?
And that's the other thing that I have to win this, right? Look at the teams he's been on. That's why I said that. Look at the teams he's been on. He's been on mid at best teams throughout his entire career, not real championship contenders. And that's why he felt like it was time to move on. Well, this is like I like going back and circling back to the veterans trying to win championships model because you look at what Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee did with the Lakers. You look at what Marcus Gasol did at the end of his career with Toronto. You look at what all these veterans bigs.
Alex Caruso with the Thunder.
Caruso won a championship, but obviously.
He didn't.
You look at all these veterans big men, right? They all find their stop eventually somewhere else where they reduce their role, but you win a championship and you're set the rest of the way. And like I said, Valinciunus has been through so much shit, especially in Sacramento, especially in New Orleans, especially in Toronto, especially in Memphis, that he hasn't even really tasted what a championship team looks like. All right. Fun fact, Jonas Valinciunus is the leading scorer in NBA play-in history. He has been in every single play-in year that's been in existence. He's played in the play-in.
That's not a good stat, but
that's not a good stat. Good. I know it's not. That's not a good stat for us at all.
When we talk about quarterback, we're going to sound very similar. No,
I'm just saying it's just that's how mid his teams have been on because they haven't been shit, but they haven't been good.
Here's a good way to make sure everybody's ready for our top 5 movies. If you like movies, Shawshank Redemption. He was Andy Dufresne. He was getting beat up by the sisters. The guards were beating up on him. He didn't have any perks or benefits. Now he's being offered to do the guards' taxes. He's going to get the library job. He's going to get an assistant. He's going to be running everything and work his way out. So maybe this is – I mean, if you do want to get to Greece at some point, why not ride out the 2 years with Denver, see what you can do, and then Like being
It's not
35
even
and
up
30.
to- It has to be 2 years. It can be the 1 year, and you get and you take and the team says, you know what? Thank you for your services. You can go back to Greece now after we win a championship. Like
And we'll learn really quickly whether or not this Greece offer was for real, because if it gets taken off the table because he's 35 instead of 34, then okay, then the agent was just trying to play some shit here, and they really were never interested, and then we'll know everything else that we need to. But that was,
like I said, I would be very, very, very surprised if Valinciunus is not in the Denver Nuggets Slam keep. Is all I'll say.
makes sense. I mean, that's a lot of money. Even if you've been making NBA money, having to pay out $10 million to get out of a contract to go play in a different place, it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. Speaking of turning down money, Kendrick Perkins had a field day with this. ESPN had a field day with this because they don't pay attention to anything. But Nico, if you watch ESPN, this means that Jokic is not going to be a Denver Nugget after the next
season. He's going to be a Laker, ladies and gentlemen. Jokic is a Laker. That's what everyone's saying, right? I want you, and this is why I'm so petty around this show. I want you to subtract the Supermax extension on the little graphic you have below, because he was offered the max extension they were allowed. Next year, Jokic will be gaining $80 million more. So for the super max extension, exactly. Turns down max extension. I don't think, look. I'll go back to White. I don't think if you were given, so just say, okay, Jimmy, you have your lawn mowing company, right? You're currently under contract for 2 more years, 2 more seasons. For sure, 2 more seasons. Right?
At really good money.
Really solid money. Okay,
like money that I'll be fine with. Like, I'm only doing this because it's a job and I have something to do. I don't want to play with my horses all the time.
Exactly. And you were offered a 3-year extension on top of the contract that you currently have at the end of it. You're offered 3 years for about 25% increase. Or, hear me out. Would you wait a full calendar year and be able to double your entire contract, basically?
I've played roulette with you, Nico. I've played roulette with you. I know where this is going. We hit. We got to go again.
All I'm saying is this. It's the best player in the world.
Yeah.
And if you're a Nuggets fan, you're happy about this.
When he signs the extension later, that means that he's going to be here later. That's the thing.
We said it and saying for years that he's going to retire early. He's going to just do a fucking Barry Sanders where he's just like, I'm done. I'm good. If because Kroenke even said it, and this is why the whole fucking trade thing was disgusting when he said it, was like, we don't expect him to sign this offseason because of the reason he gets $80 million more dollars. I mean, we could write down a list of about 1,000 to probably 80 million different things that we could spend that money. And I know Jokic is like, why would I just take 1 year off of my contract when I could make $80 million by just doing this next year?
I think that's part of it. I also do think, too, there is some merit to saying this is his way of telling the team, like, because I think back to when, and I know that the Rockies and the Nuggets cannot be compared to each other, but when Arenado signed his contract and then was gone, like, this is a way for Jokic to make sure that the organization continues to do what they've been doing. I think that they've done everything that Jokic could have wanted them to do in the offseason. Go out, get more depth, bring back Bruce Brown.
If we just ran it back with this team and Luke Kennard was just the major signing we had this offseason, this would have been a bigger scare.
Yeah.
It would have been a much bigger scare.
He doesn't say things directly, and he directly said at the end of the season, we didn't have the depth to beat that team. So when your star player, the best player that your organization has ever had and probably will ever have for a long time, until my grandkids are watching basketball because they've transitioned away from football into basketball, like, that is, you need to keep that guy happy. And I think that's also Jokic's, it's an Eastern European thing. Yes, I'll take deal. Not right now, though. I'll take deal when you prove to me that deal is worth taking.
Let me tell you how this conversation went with probably Josh and Nicole. He's like, "All right, hey Nicole, how are you?" I'm saying, "I'm good, brother. Why you bothering me?"
Horse just had big win. I don't know why you called right now.
Why you come to congratulate me like on my big race horse day? I was like, "Hey Nicole, just have to do our due diligence here. We're gonna offer you this contract. You don't really care about the numbers, but let's just put it this way: if you don't decide to sign this offseason, you'll be able to make $80 million more. It's $80 million. I could buy
How much is that? This is some water.
10
How-
super horses. 10 super horses, 18 million. I think I could buy 10 super horses. Like, yes, Nicola. Yes, you can buy 10 super horses with your $80 million you'll get next year. And then also, I was like, okay. And then Nicola says, oh, you know what? You're right. I think I'll wait. And then Josh Kroenke then proceeds, okay, sweet. Sounds great. I will talk next offseason. Have you met your new friends, Cam, Bruce, who you know, by the way, and Jonas? Here are their numbers. Go say hello. And he's
Nico.
like, oh, Bretta. I was like, you don't have to say much, Nicola. Just give him a call. Say hello.
Nico.
He's like, okay, Bretta, I do that.
I just did the exchange because I got curious and my ADHD was taking over. If we convert 80 million US dollars to the Serbian dinar, he is making $8,007,919,840.
How many horses is that? Is the real question. Like, it's a whole stable.
In some boards, he's buying the 4-6's ranch. He's buying the entire ranch, and he's not thinking about it.
Exactly, but ESPN is here to tell you that Jokic is going to be a Laker.
They got to do more geography research. I would move to Serbia if I was offered $80 million.
I would do a lot. I'm not going to go that far, but I would do a lot of things for $80 million. That's all I'm going to say. Like I cannot emphasize this enough. The zero story this is, the sub-zero story this is. This would be a much, like I said, this would be a much bigger story if this team did not do what they did the last 2 weeks. That's a fact. If the Nuggets just stood pat, right, hired Ben Simmons, John Wallace, just kept Adelman, basically kept the same coaching staff, right? Kroenke didn't do any changes. You kept Michael Porter Jr. roster. You had Saric's contract still on your roster, and he's still your backup center. All of that still happened, then this will be a much scarier time. And obviously, it's a little bit of a worry, It's still it's not denying that. But like when you did the revamps you did to this roster in the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it's been, and you have a chance to win another championship this upcoming year, I think it's going to be, like I said, this team is going to be so much better than they were last year, and they forced the champs to 7 games.
And also speaking of those champs, I just did the exchange rate. They would be paying $10 billion more with the amount of money that they shelled out today. So we said that the Big Three model was gone. They brought the Big Three model back, and it's not really gone. It's just different than the way that it used to be.
Well, it's gone in the sense of their whole roster will be gone because of this fucking apron that the Oklahoma City Thunder are stuck with.
I did not realize. I know that there's a lot of oil out there in Oklahoma. I did not realize there was $822 million in the state to offer these guys.
Like the owners obviously are stupid wealthy there, and obviously oil money is nuts in the South. But like, this is a great move for Oklahoma City. All 3 of those guys obviously were major parts of you winning a championship. What is going to be a problem is in the next couple of years, you'll see players leave very quickly because you can only fork over so much money, right? The apron is going to start bugging you in the ass. And this is the problem the Nuggets ran into. And there's a problem that Boston ran into, right? And obviously now we'll see what OKC has to deal with this in next year. I mean, this year they're not under the apron because the way they move their contracts around. But after next year, what will it look like, right? When you don't have max contract players playing like max contract level talents, you run into situations like the Nuggets did where they're paying Michael Porter Jr. all this money to drop 10 points, 11 points a night in the playoffs. I'm not saying Chet and Jalen Williams are going to be that in a year.
But it's a possibility.
Exactly.
If the NBA decides to change how they call their fouls, Shea could go from the scoring title, MVP, NBA Finals MVP, and champion to another guy that's just laying down on the floor.
Of the 3, Shea is the most I'm confident in that won't happen to. But the other 2, like we saw, Jalen Williams was a -40 in Game 6.
And he got a 5-year, $287 million extension.
Exactly. He got a fat contract. But like obviously, Chet and Jalen Williams, both from the same draft. And this is why Sam Presti is like he is the best GM in all of sports, is the way he was able to build this team from the ground up. But now comes the fun part for Sam Presti, or now comes the interesting part, because you accumulate draft picks, you accumulate young talent. You got 3 stars. And Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, when all 3 of those guys are paying stupid amount of money, Good teams lose great players all the time because guys, it shouldn't even be called the second apron tax. It should be called the good team tax. Where when you're on a good team and you're a role player, what does that mean? You're going to go to a bad team and get more money.
Yeah.
That's the logic of the NBA and how things work out.
Yeah, that's how the NBA has decided to keep their parity. And to his credit, I think Adam Silver has already doubled the amount of new champions to be crowned in his tenure as commissioner than Stern did. Stern was the dynasty commissioner. This has now been the parity commissioner. But the NFL does parity in a different way where teams aren't hamstrung as much. Like teams are starting to hamstring themselves. But the league is not doing anything to purposely hamstring their teams in the offseason. But this is, again, why we have the offseason in the NBA being different than the NFL and even the NHL, because the NHL is changing, but the NHL, the owners have the players so far by the balls, it's a little bit insane. They still have a hard cap league in 2025.
The NBA and the NFL and the NHL and the MLB in general would beg for the type of offseason the NBA has already had. Like this much.
I will say, there are sickos
all time being traded in the middle in the offseason. 3 guys signing Luka Doncic trade in the middle of the season.
There are more sickos that follow their NFL team 365 days a year than follow their NBA team as much. But the NBA does have the more volatile and explosive things that happen. That is, I'm not saying that.
It's the fireworks on the 4th of July that fucking light up the whole fucking sky for half a second.
Okay, it's done.
Exactly. It's the fucking big show that fucking goes nuts in the beginning as opposed to the 30-minute that you get with the fucking other things in the NFL.
It never happens this fast before. I'm sorry.
And this is why there's also very little loyalty in the NBA because, like you said, your favorite players jump around. But let's not sugarcoat it.
Because you can see their face because they're not under a helmet.
More fans nowadays are fans of players than they are individual teams. Like let's not sugarcoat it. Half of the Lakers fans right now, and yes, I know there's a lot of Lakers fans. Half of Lakers fans right now are LeBron fans. Follows from Cleveland, follows into Miami, right? Like that's just the way things go. KD fans, right? There's not fucking fans in Oklahoma City right now. There are fans of Kevin Durant. There are sole Kevin Durant fans that has followed his ass to now his 6th different team. It's the worst part about the NBA, but it's also why the off seasons are so much fun.
The off seasons are more fun, and now we can transition away from the NBA into what everybody else has been doing. This week, I know that Superman was just released. I know that college football is coming out. Season 2 of Quarterback also dropped. I think that Peyton Manning deserves a lot of credit because I think that this has been a cool idea for a long time. He's just the one that was able to do it. And he gets guys like the first year that they did it in quarterback, one of the guys won the Super Bowl. This season, the guy that they're spending the most time on, I know that you haven't watched it yet, but when you watch it, I want you to try and calculate how many more minutes you see Joe Burrow than either of the other 2 quarterbacks. You see Jared Goff's girlfriend more than you see Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins in the first 2 episodes.
Kirk Cousins also got benched and got injured. So
but that's been the kind of the cool thing. Is that they've gotten a guy that got benched because Desmond Ridder was in the first season, so he has a terrible season. You see that and everything that goes into there.
Oh, it was Mariota. Mariota.
Mariota was the guy initially, but Kirk, and now Kirk has taken over that spot. Jared Goff, like all the expectations in the world, and we'll see how that goes. We all know how the season ends. We've seen how the season plays out, but following Burrow around and watching the highlights and what they find from these games. I turned to my dad last night. I don't know how many times, like, it's a shame they didn't win more games. It's a real shame. It's a shame they weren't better.
The real shame that defense couldn't stop a fucking mouse from running across the field.
There's it's really sick. It's disgusting sometimes when you see the amount of just perfect deep balls that are thrown to Jamar Chase, or Jamar Chase getting a crossing route and then breaking 5 tackles and scoring. And you see they showed it was season or episode 2 ends with that first Ravens game. Do you remember that first Ravens game? So it goes back and forth for the first half. The Bengals get a 10-point lead with 10 minutes left to go in the game. The Ravens come all the way back, and the Bengals fumble to let the Ravens kick a field goal to tie it. They get a fumble back in overtime, miss the field goal, And then let Derrick Henry run it for 45 yards because nobody decided to tackle. I'm living. I like it because I get to see Joe Burrow's the weirdest guy, but I also think he and I would be really good friends because he's into weird shit and I'm into weird shit. I don't like to do my laundry. He doesn't like to do his laundry. He spent a lot of time with his mom driving back and forth to practice. I did similar things to those. He's also like a year and a half older than the two of us, so it's not like we're that far off. But watching him on the field, like seeing this season again, I'm almost to the point where I'm going to be an NBA guy and just follow Burrow wherever he goes because that dude is. And Spagnuolo said it too. That was the cool thing they picked up with following Burrow around. The episode ends, and it's Spagnuolo telling Burrow, "Besides our guy, you're the best guy in the business." And I know that you can have your own opinions, but it was pretty damn hard to argue with that Chiefs game against the Bengals, and then when he followed that up against the Ravens the way that he did. Burrow is fucking so good. Sometimes I forget.
It's very good, and you guys decided to run it back this year with the same roster. I'm sorry. I know. It's
same roster. We got a guard that's wrestling with Sean Strickland. Did you see that video?
Good for him.
And he's holding his own. No, that's
all I'm saying is this: your team got worse based upon the guys they subtracted and the guys you paid. And you saw last season, and you were like, "Let's run it back with the same coaching staff." The same guy that's telling Burrow, "You let's enjoy the wins because we've only had 6 of them this year." And Joe Burrow was like, "I need to be fucking better. This needs to be better." And Joe's right. There's no one that saw that clip as Bengals fans saying that Joe wasn't right because Joe was right in that situation.
Joe was right, and I'm excited to get to that episode. I'm not to that point in the season yet.
The only 2 clips I've seen from this is that scene.
The scene from the Titans game, the one that you're the one that you're talking about, the scene from the Titans game where he's on the bench. They won, they beat the Titans.
How about he played?
And I think it was we jumped off sides 5 fucking times. Like I get that. Like that was really good to see. I mean I've brought up this conversation. Here's my thing. I took a long break from Bengals content because it was really hard for me to hear the slant that they were putting on things. When I can objectively look at this and go, they're playing incredible on offense. They play like shit on defense. Sure. All I heard from their media was the injuries. Nobody's here. This, that, Hubbard, he's retired. He's gone. They got rid of Pratt. They brought in new linebackers. The big issue now that I have my own, obviously the defense didn't play well, and I don't think Anarumo deserved to be fired. But from what people that are actually in that locker room and around that team on a daily basis say is that Anarumo actually started to be a little bit like Michael Malone was by the end of his Nuggets tenure. I don't have fucking young guys to play. Everybody's fucking hurt. So what do you want me to fucking do? You give me shit to work with. I can't put shit out, like just be in that negative presence. Like he was the driving force of that defense not having any confidence because he's like, well, all of our guys are hurt in the secondary. So now they got rid of him. They bring in Al Golden, who's a guy that's known for, like, he's a college coach. College coaches know how to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. I'm not sitting here saying the prediction will be a whole lot better. I'm probably going to get blinded by the lights and the jerseys that I have hanging in my closet. But I am going to sit here and say, like, I've now come back full. Like, I'm a Bengals fan. I've been a Bengals fan for a long time. I love Burrow. And I do think that there's something to be said about your coach last season made your worst part of your team worse by saying how bad you guys were. Now we got a guy who doesn't know how bad we are. Maybe it'll be worse. Maybe it'll be better. I don't know, but it's going to be different. And I'm just looking for different because the last 5 seasons have not been different since the Super Bowl season. Go 0-2, get hot, and barely either make the playoffs or just barely miss.
I mean, I remember looking at go ahead and pull up the Bengals first 6 weeks because it's not easy if I remember correctly. It may be just
also wasn't easy last season, and I'm remembering that now because the second week of the season we go from blowing that game against the Patriots to here's Kansas City, the team that you played 6 times within the last 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I will take it back. I will. If you start 0-3 this season, you might as well start trading everybody. Is all I'll say this way, because you start the season in Cleveland, that should be a win.
Browns, Jags, Vikings, Broncos, Lions.
If you start 0-3, you need to just burn everything. I cannot emphasize this enough. If you lose to fucking Joe Flacco, Trevor Lawrence, and fucking JJ McCarthy, the first 3 weeks and the Bengals think that they're still real contenders before obviously you play a playoff team, the Broncos. I don't look, we're not going to be great by any means, but before you play a playoff
That'll
team,
be just like it was last season where it's back and forth battle.
Before you play Green Bay in Green Bay, before you play Pittsburgh.
Oh, we have all of our division games at the end, and we go Steelers. Let's go Ravens, Bills, Ravens, Dolphins, Cardinals, Browns to end the season. So, like, the end of the season, if we do what we think that we can do, we should finish 10, 11, 12 wins, possibly.
You will be favored. I don't know the odds right now, but if I were to guess, you were favored in the first 3 games. And there's a good chance you're probably at even money with the Broncos right now. If I were to guess.
It comes down to the quarterback position because everybody knows that the Broncos have the better defense. They have the more established coach. I trust Sean Payton 10 times farther than I could ever throw Zach Taylor in my life, and especially like the clip that we were talking about. Everything that I've said about the last however many preseasons not being good enough, and that's why the team sucks and gets off to a slow start, that was week 10 or 11 or something. It was deep into the season that he's sitting there like, as a head coach, I know that you got to be a certain way sometimes, but that was a perfect situation to go, we fucking won, but we got our asses kicked. We jumped offside. Like, we got goddamn lucky, and we're trying to win out the season to make the playoffs, and we're going to play like that.
And that's the difference between Joe Burrow's championship mentality he learned at LSU with that great team, and Zach Taylor being a middle-of-the-road head coach that is just happy to have great talent around him. And frankly, if he had worse talent, he wouldn't have a job right now.
Yeah, no, he's banking on. He got a little bit of screen time in the first couple episodes. Joe Burrow in the first episode, a total of 109 out of 291 screen minutes between just in episode 1 alone.
Those episodes are 2.5 hours long.
No, it's throughout all of the first 2 episodes. I think it's 45 minutes each episode. Of that time, of the first 3, I think it is, he's on the screen 109 out of those 249.
I mean, like no offense to Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins, where are you going to get the clicks?
I know that we both have girlfriends. I know that. Have you seen the girl that Jared Goff is with? I think she gets more screen time than Goff does.
All I'm saying is this: like, if you want to get fucking things pulled, like the fucking Giants GM did when he said, "I don't want Saquon playing for the Eagles," right? If you're going to get viral moments, if you're going to get things that people talk about, where is it going to come from? These 3 quarterbacks. The guy majority of the country knows.
The guy that learned piano to get over tearing the ligaments in his wrist. Yeah. That was the straight, like, that's what I mean by a weird guy. He's like, I hired somebody to teach me what the notes were, and then I just watch YouTube videos. It's like,
I saw the video. He shows his NFL headshot picture when he gets haircuts. He's like, this is what I want it to look like.
Huh? He also has a stylist that he's been working with for a long time, and I was like, oh, I thought that he just picked all of those outfits. No, he hired a stylist.
He's still in Atlanta. I'm very surprised why Atlanta has not just tried to ship him off to somewhere. I mean, there'll be a QB needy team at some point this season, I guess. But
yeah, no, he was really bad. Like, Kirk Cousins, he's also like, Great Clips has been my go-to for 3 decades. Everybody knows you've had the same haircut ever since you came into the league.
I will stand on this, and this is one of maybe the hottest takes I'll have. If you do not go to a local barbershop, you are not getting a good haircut. Plain and simple. If you're going to a chain with multiple places around the country,
you can find
Great Clips horrible unless you find a good.
I was going to say you can find good. I have a couple of women at different Sport Clips, and they're all women. I don't know why, but there's like very few men hairstylists at Sport Clips. But there have been a few girls that have given me exactly what I was looking for, and I didn't even know.
It's the individual, but it's like 1 in 30 people, and then the other 10 times you go there, you're like, oh fuck, they fucked me up. I got to try somewhere else. I get to watch
the final of Wimbledon, but you fucked my shit up.
Not great.
And that back massage was shit. What are you doing? Do they send you to masseuse school before you do this?
You don't fucking hot towel on my face when you wash my hair? Fuck.
You put it over my nose. I couldn't breathe. Real quickly before we get into our segments, just want to put this out here real quick. Top 10 or top 100, college football rivalries. CU, CSU did make the list. If you were to guess, where do you think they might have made that list?
I'd say bottom half. I'd say bottom half. I'd say probably in the 50 to 70 range.
It's lower than you would have thought too. They were the 91st. CU, CSU.
That's because both teams have not been good recently. I think that's another big reason why. It's like CSU.
And they're not going to be playing for a while in the future because CU consistently sticks with the narrative, even though they almost lost 2 years ago, the first year that Dion was there, that CSU is not worth their time to play. So they're not going to be.
This is the conversation I saw online today. It's like, as a CU fan, because I kind of throw myself into this, which game means more, CU, CSU, or CU, Nebraska? To me, I'll be honest with you, I think it's CU, CSU. I understand the Nebraska lore and all that and the other thing. Neither of those teams, Nebraska or CU, has been in the championship picture in 30 years.
Yeah.
And CU, CSU always is the most fun because it's high school teammates playing against high school teammates. It's the fucking best of one side of the state against the best of the other side of the state. And so to me, it's CU, CSU. And I know that's recency bias because I wasn't around when the CU Nebraska was going at it during the Big 12 days. But like, it's the whole lore of CU Nebraska has kind of died off because of the conference realignment. And that's frankly, it's not our fault. Nebraska was the first one to jump ship. So it's not our fault. So I know CU Nebraska has a lot more lore, but I think CU is more fun.
CU Nebraska was ranked within the top 70. I believe they were 61 on the list.
That's a little low to me, but
here's the thing. Looking at it, Michigan, Ohio State, number 1, Auburn, Alabama, number 2, Oklahoma, Texas, number 3, Army, Navy, number 4.
Yeah,
top 4,
that's
perfect.
Right. That's perfect. Yeah, that's.
I think that you could probably put Army up in that 2 spot and bump everybody else down.
That's the Mount Rushmore right there. You can interchange all of however you want. And frankly, I wouldn't have that big of much of an argument. I'd be like, you know what? You're probably right. Also probably wrong. There's no argument those top 4 at all.
5, USC, Notre Dame. 6, Ohio State, Penn State.
Penn State's been the little brother for so long.
I was going to say, I didn't know that was a rivalry because Penn State hasn't won within my lifetime. James Franklin.
USC Notre Dame is a good one for the West Coast, I think, but like they don't play every year either.
Well, that was also the big controversy. The year that Texas beat USC in the national championship was that game, the Bush push, and whether or not that should have counted on the quarterback sneak with Leinart. The other big names.
I would have put like Georgia, Bama, or Georgia.
I was surprised at how few Southern teams were actually represented. Looking at it, Wisconsin has 2 within the top 25. Wisconsin, Minnesota is number 10. Wisconsin, Iowa is number 22.
Wisconsin, Iowa, fine. Minnesota hasn't been fucking relevant in fucking 50
I know,
years.
but they play for a big-ass trophy. That's the crazy thing about Wisconsin in the Big Ten is that everybody plays for a big-ass trophy. Notre Dame has 6 ranked rivalries within the top 100.
So if I were to guess, obviously USC, I would put maybe Ohio State. No.
Nope.
No.
They're not in there.
Indiana.
No.
Okay, then you're gonna have to.
So it's USC, Navy, Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and Florida State.
So Notre Dame hasn't played Florida State probably in 15 years, and they're above CU Nebraska.
It's not that they're above. They just have 6 within the top 100. Some of these teams only barely squeaked out 1.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know.
Tennessee had quite a few too. That's the other thing. Tennessee football has a good
one. Tennessee Bama's a good one.
Tennessee, Bama, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt.
Kentucky being in that is fucking nuts to me, but still, like I look, the top 4 is correct. Is all I'll be happy about. Okay, and I'm glad CU and CSU is on there because if it wasn't on there, it almost didn't get on there. I would have been upset.
People who live in Idaho have to be pissed because Idaho State, or Idaho Boise State did not make the list, and I think Wisconsin Whitewater made the list at like 98.
Oh boy.
Where Quinn Miners went, the Belly's alma mater made the damn list. If we're going Colorado,
is it all D1 or is there D2 and like
D3? No, Wisconsin Whitewater's D3.
Was there any other besides that, or was it just that one?
Let's see.
I would guess it's probably the only one. I don't know enough D2, D3 lore like you probably do that would help us.
Well, if we're talking about Colorado, the longest standing
Yeah.
Colorado rivalry is Western Colorado versus Colorado Mines. So Gabe and I would be happy about that.
I just don't think that's up the top 100. But I mean,
Let's see. Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky. I didn't know that was a
what is that ranked?
98.
Okay,
99. 99.
Okay, I was about to be very upset if that was above CUCSU. But
Ready?
CUCSU is 6 spots above.
Oh shit! They gave Mid American 1 spot by themselves.
What?
The MAC is 94.
Below CUCSU, above or below?
They're below. They're a couple's. They're 94. Colorado State is 91. So Maction nearly beat CUCSU.
Whatever.
Yeah, Mount Union, Wisconsin, Whitewater is 90.
I understand we're a flyover state, but you cannot. But one of the most watched college football games the last 2 years was what game, Jimmy? Fucking Jay Norvell and Deion Sanders hating the shit out of each other. Every fucking ESPN thing talked about that. Not much Maction talk, but they talked about Jay Norvell versus primetime.
To be fair, Maction normally goes on when the NBA is playing, so you might not watch a lot of Maction. I watch quite a bit of Maction. I think that some of the rivalries are cool, but having it nearly beat CUCSU, that makes no sense. Nothing below D1.
CU and CSU has gotten more primetime games than Wisconsin and Minnesota combined the last 2 years.
Are we talking about lacrosse here, Nico? 89th college football rivalry, Maryland, Virginia. When have either of those two teams been nationally relevant?
Great lacrosse schools. Football.
Top 100 football rivalries, and those two are on it.
Football. Great lacrosse schools, but football? Come on now.
Next thing I know, Johns Hopkins is going to show up on this list, and they don't even have a fucking football team.
Exactly. They're a football team D3, by the way. Not even a D1 team. They're only D1 and fucking football and lacrosse. But
nothing below D1 is 90 or above.
Oh my gosh. All right.
So that's where it is.
At least we got the top 4 right, so good for you, I guess. That's as far as most people. Let's be honest. The people that were like, unless you're like a dumb diehard like you and I are, the people that really looked at that list wanted to see where that top 4 was ranked, and that's as far as they went.
That's true.
Like they were like, all right, was Michigan, Ohio State above Auburn, Alabama? Where's Navy Army? Where's
Do you think if the fight didn't happen this year and if the Michigan hadn't taken over the rivalry, I think that Auburn, Alabama might have beaten Ohio State, Michigan at number 1 if those two things hadn't happened that recently.
I mean, Ohio State won the national championship,
and Michigan won the one before, so I get those two things. But also, you think about Auburn, Alabama, we have the kick 6. That if you listen to the Kick 6 audio and you don't get
hatred, there's a lot more fun moments in Auburn, Alabama.
Toomer's Corner, Poison in the Trees in Toomer's Corner. That's another one. Now that we get to deal with our own rankings, I'm going to go ahead and get you get to go first because I knew we were going to be different. We already like the different. You're more of a Marvel Universe guy. I love the DC Universe, especially like Marvel Universe holds no stones when it comes to movies. DC Universe sucks when it comes to movies. We'll see what you think about Superman tonight. I've heard really good things about this Superman. I liked Man of Steel. It's going to show up on my list. But let's take a look at what we have for top superhero.
I'll do honorable mentions right now. 2 honorable mentions. The ones that got me into superhero movies. That's why they should be in the top 5. But since they meant so much to me, I'm going to throw them into there. And it's the first Fantastic Four with Jessica Alba. Chris Evans as Flamon, The Thing, and obviously Mr. Fantastic. Like that first Fantastic Four was like one of the first things that introduced to me. And number 2, the other honorable mention, the first Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. That just changed.
I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
That changed everything. There's everything for me. Everything for me. So those movies really got me hooked on it all. Your number 2, also, I didn't want to duplicate. So your number 2, though, that's very high up here for me. I'll just put that out there. But I'll let that when you get to your list. So I'll go from 5 to 1 because number 1 is the undisputed GOAT for me. Number 5, Into the Spider-Verse. Into the Spider-Verse, the best comic book adaptation in terms of
page to screen. I've heard that.
Screen, by far and away ever created. It is
better than the Invincible moments because the Invincible comics, the series. I know that it's different, but like that's been the standard that I've not seen Into the Spider-Verse, so I'm also trying to see why I should see it.
Into the Spider-Verse also was a like cartoon, so it wasn't live.
Yeah,
action.
no, I know that it's a cartoon. I know that it's not live action. That's why I compared it
That's
to
why I
Invincible.
put that at 5 because it's still a great movie in my opinion. It's still one of the best soundtracks of all time too. The What's Up
You're my
Danger,
sunflower.
Post Malone in his prime, What's Up Danger, everything all
What's
coming
up?
out.
Every single school year, I've been a teacher for 4 years. What's Up Danger has been a request for 4 damn years, and I think the movie came out way before that.
Oh, it's such a good song. Number 4, just a personal favorite. I'm a big Thor guy. Thor Ragnarok.
It's the best of the Thor movies.
It's the most fun one. Right, it's the most fun one where obviously the Hulk tears him to shreds. He's funny in it. Obviously, Korg is very funny. I think Hela is a fantastic villain too. It fits very, very perfectly. I think it was the perfect end to the Thor world, but they decided to add one more for fucks and giggles because they decided to make more money off it, and they should have stopped right there.
Yeah,
I still one of my favorite ones. So that's number 4 for me. Number 3, recent. I know Deadpool Wolverine. I watched this movie alone in a movie theater in San Diego the day it came out last year. I was at Comic-Con. Everything Deadpool Wolverine this, everything Deadpool Wolverine that. I saw it in a movie theater at 7 a.m. by myself, basically. I think there's one other person in there with me watching it. And I could not emphasize enough how much fun this movie was. Between, obviously, Logan coming back, or sorry, not Logan, but what's his
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman coming back as Wolverine after Logan, which is another great movie, superhero movie that we neither of us mentioned. He coming back, right? You have the cameos of Chris Evans as the
Human Torch.
Human Torch, right? You had Blade come back. You had the introduction of fucking the Gambit.
Channing Tatum is Gambit.
It had everything you could want in that movie while giving love back.
Wait a second. The Madonna scene at the end.
Oh, so
that's
good.
all you had to say. The Madonna scene at the end might be the best.
So good.
And because I see edits of it constantly on the internet. And he has risen, baby girl. Fuck! And so I don't want the world to see me.
So good. So good. And it was the introduction of that X-Men universe being brought into the Disney world, right? Because let's not forget, that Fox was all Fox, right? Yeah. Wolverine, the X-Men, the all that stuff on that side of all the Fox stuff was not part of the Disney MCU. This was the introduction to it all. And I just loved how they introduced it right away because it was
the
TVA,
alternate Logans also, as he's trying to find a new anchor being. The Cavalrine. The legends are true.
You had the Hulk with Wolverine, one of the greatest fights in comic book history. Like, you had it all. And the introduction of it all into the time variants, right? And you had or Ryan Reynolds going to the screen. I'm going to Disney World. Suck it, Fox. Still great. One of the best lines.
The Honda Odyssey fucks hard. Too bad you don't needle dick.
You had the cameo of the Greatest Showman song for a half second there.
This is the greatest.
So good. I'm not going to stroke this movie off more than I already have. You watched it.
You're the one that I want. You are the one I want. Do.
So good. Everything between the dog pool and everything too. It's so good. That's why it's number 3. Number 2, another movie that I saw on the opening night, Avengers Endgame. That game or that movie just changed everything for me. I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to that. I remember seeing Avengers Infinity War and seeing the ends of that. And I knew when I watched Endgame the first time, I was like, this is going to be the end of my childhood. This is going to be the end of, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know this is going to be the end of this comic book world. Because everything that's happened since then, obviously, is much different. It's and for the good or bad, however you want to see it. But I knew it was going to be the end of Tony Stark's reign. I knew it would be Chris Evans. I knew it would be Thor, right? I knew that core era of like the childhood where I'd go in middle school to high school, where I'd go see all these comic book Marvel movies, it would end in Endgame. And it did perfectly. And I think it ended in the most beautiful way possible. So
can you tap into the end of Infinity War, the emotions that you had when you saw the half of the universe get destroyed?
It was like the same feeling I had when I saw Game of Thrones chop off Ned Stark's head in the first season. I was like, how do you go on from this? It was literally the feeling of the Avengers, being like, how do I walk out of the like usually when you walk out of a movie theater, it's pretty like, happy and everything. Everyone walked out of that Avengers Infinity War movie theater being like, oh my God, what did I just
I'm glad that I asked you that question because that triggers a memory, but that is those times in the movie theater we get spoiled as Americans. Going back to that American versus European that we see, the European cinema doesn't always have to end with a happy ending. Americans only like the happy endings. Sometimes when you don't have a happy ending, that is actually more impactful than what could have been.
And Endgame at least tied it all together. And the number one, the fucking GOAT, the fucking masterpiece that was Christian Bale, that was Heath Ledger.
Nico, it was so good. I didn't realize it was a sequel.
It's the second one. It is the greatest sequel of all time. And the first movie. I could have put all three here. I could have put all three because I love the
last one. The last one is.
But I know, but I love the way Bane was portrayed, and I love the way Tom Hardy played him. And I know it wasn't the comic book accurate look of him, but I thought that was so sick. I love the Ra's al Ghul stuff in the creation of in the first one. But The Dark Knight, for those that like, obviously Jokic is my favorite player in the world, okay? And I love the nickname of the Joker. The Joker was my favorite villain by far. I know he's sadistic. I know it's everything, but it all started with The Dark Knight, right? The twists, the turns, the different things, the on edge scene, the first scene in that movie, going into the bank, robbing,
and everybody in the group kills the other because they all have instructions from the Joker to kill the next person that's in line.
Like it's such a cinematic masterpiece, The Dark Knight, and it's still
good enough that some people don't even consider it a superhero movie; they consider it a crime movie.
Exactly, like it deserves its own little world of movie genres because of how good it is and how well written Heath Ledger played the character and how well that Christian Bale just portrayed the character. Like this is what got me hooked on the new Batman stuff with Pattinson and Damon and everybody. That like I wasn't born for fucking Clooney, okay? I wasn't born for the other ones. Christian Bale wasn't. Christian Bale is my Batman, okay? And it didn't start with this, but this magnified it to a whole nother level. So Dark Knight's number one for me.
Yeah, no Val Kilmer's is Batman for you. Going in descending order, you had Into the Spider-Verse from Spider-Man, Thor, Deadpool, Wolverine, Thor Ragnarok, Deadpool, Wolverine, Avengers Endgame, and The Dark Knight. I only see one DC Comics movie on there, Nico.
I know. We did superhero. Suicide Squad would have been close.
Which one? Suicide Squad or The Suicide Squad? The Suicide Squad's the one that has Cena.
I know. Honestly, both. I like both. I could have thrown the Joker, just plain Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. I love that one too.
Honorable mention there. We can both put that there.
Not superhero. That's all I'll say. And I love the new Batman movies too. I'm super excited. I love the Penguin Show. Like watching that was fantastic. I love what they're doing with Pat over there, or Patman. I don't know how they're calling Pattinson as Batman, but one of those two, whatever. I love the whole thing they're doing, and obviously we'll see. I mean, I'm not going to do spoilers, but I don't know possibly this is the Superman in that world. I don't know if it is. It's just what I've heard theorized before the movie came out, so we'll see. I do have a soft spot for DC, but more so this is going to sound bad. DC does more good stuff with the dark side of things.
Yeah, no, DC as a company is much darker than Marvel.
Exactly.
The only time
way better in DC than it is in Marvel.
The only time that you see really good dark stuff from Marvel are their TV shows, like that Deadpool, the initial series, Punisher. And Punisher, I think that's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'll throw Punisher as the one, not Dolph Lundgren and not the other guy, but the Punisher makes an honorable mention. The feeling that you had after Infinity War, where you're walking out of the theater, like, how do they go on from this? That was, we drove out to Boulder because my cousin worked at a Cinemark, and we went and saw the Batman versus Superman when Doomsday kills Superman at the end. And I'd never seen that comic before. I didn't know that story. I didn't know that was a possibility. So when Superman dies, that fucks you up mentally. When somebody that you think is immortal that you're not supposed to see die on screen, when that happens, that sucks. So those are my honorable mentions. I'll go in descending order just like you did. Have you seen Kick-Ass?
Yeah, but that's not a top
I here's my thing that I was noticing. I do really like the violence. Like when violence is necessary. I think that that's the cool thing about superheroes is trying to figure out when that morality of killing the bad guy or letting him go is better. That's why Batman is so appealing because he should just put a fucking bullet in the Joker's head and then everything else would have been solved from there. But is that the right thing to do? That's where I like things and Kick Ass. It's a high school kid who becomes invulnerable, but he still feels pain, but his body just won't break down. And you had the Batman ripoff, Big Daddy. It's a Marvel comic. I did have to look that up. I didn't know which company had released it. It's a Marvel comic. So this was Stan Lee trying to rip off all of the DC characters. I still think that the movie's pretty good. And the guy that went on, I don't know if you're a fan of Bullet Train, but he is one of the main people in Bullet Train. And he's also Kraven. If you've seen the Kraven movie, he's the guy that plays Kraven, was the original Kick-Ass. So I really like Kick-Ass. I know that that's a niche. I wanted to go niche because I'm a DC fan, and the DC universe has terrible movies, and yet I picked a Marvel movie instead. Number 4 for me is The Man of Steel. I know that this is not a perfect Superman story. I just love the way Henry Cavill looks as Superman. Like, physically, that's the first person I've seen actually capture what the comic book character is. Because Christopher Reeves, I love those Superman movies. He never looked like. No, going back and watching videos now, I can see there's a difference between Clark Kent and Superman. When Henry Cavill was in the suit, it's like, fuck, I gotta go get on a bench press.
Yeah, I mean, look, even the new Superman, I can't remember the guy's name.
I'll have to look it up.
Cavill's size is just so intimidating, and just what Superman is. I think this movie, I think this is the best adaptation of Superman we've ever had.
David Corenswet.
He's the guy that was in Twister. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
He's one of the annoying guys in Twister. But I will say, I think Henry Cavill's this version of Superman was the best version we've seen. Most comically accurate, the most telling story I think of all time with Man of Steel. So I love that pick of 4.
And going back to the morality of whether or not you should kill your villains, he kills General Zod, and that's the reason why everybody hates on this movie is that Superman killed Zod. I liked it because in the way that Snyder was telling the story, he doesn't know how to control himself. He doesn't know how to control his powers, and obviously Zod is killing people with his laser vision. So the easiest way to stop the laser vision is just a quick snap to the neck. And that's what ended up happening. Number 3, I told my brother I hated the first Captain America movie. I thought it was boring. I thought it was slow. I didn't think that it was good. I didn't like it. Captain America Winter Soldier is everything I wanted the first Captain America movie to be. There was espionage. There was him, taking the mask off to square off with GSP in that opening sequence. The elevator fight from Captain America Winter Soldier might be one of the best action sequences in all of Marvel cinema, plus the highway scene with the Winter Soldier when we get introduced to him. He catches the shield in his robotic arm. Like, there's a ton. I remember when we were with that other network and I went through the entire summer watching all the Marvel movies, everything. Like, when I had to watch a new one, I was like, couldn't I just rewatch Winter Soldier? Like
it's so good. I think Captain America had the best 3. I love the first one. I love the backstory of it all. I think you had to have the backstory because Captain America had never been played on the big screen.
That's true. I think what I didn't like about it was that it came out similar to Hacksaw Ridge. Yeah. And I didn't like the skinny soldier initially, and I did. I milked all of those steroid jokes on Captain America as much as I could because my brother's the biggest Captain America fan you'll ever meet. He has a shield in his classroom.
But between the first one, this obviously Winter Soldier, and Captain America: Civil War, I mean, that's just
Civil War is. It was very hard for me to choose between Civil War and Winter Soldier.
You look at the groups of 3, right?
Yeah.
Iron Man, first one was incredible. Second one was really solid. Third one, that's where the jump off comes off. Thor, first one, okay. Second one, fantastic. Third one, horrible, right? Captain America, banger, banger, banger. Hulk didn't get 3, right?
Doctor Strange didn't get 3.
Didn't get 3. Like the epitome, and obviously Spider-Man's the only other one. But Spider-Man, I think Spider-Man's been very solid so far. But I don't think it matches the 3 levels that Captain America did. It is the main centerpiece of what MCU is made of, and it's incredible.
It was after the initial Iron Man movie, Winter Soldier's what moved the whole Avengers storyline forward the most because that's when you realized how infiltrated Hydra was, and that's where we also meet Bone Crusher, which is the reason for the Sokovia Accords. Now that I'm putting it all together in my head, that is the reason why that whole Civil War thing ended up happening. Second one, Spider-Man: No Way Home, because again, going back to that idea of not having a happy ending, that's a shitty ending. It was a great. I love the movie. I love Tom Holland. I know that Tobey Maguire is my first Spider-Man. I like the way Andrew Garfield played him, but it wasn't like those movies weren't as good. And then when they brought them all together, like that was really cool in the most recent one. But this one where he's going against, you're gonna have to help me with Jake Gyllenhaal's villain character name,
Mysterio.
Mysterio, and the videos and like it was very poignant that was about the time we were starting this show and like being on social media. Like when you put something out there, a lot of people can have the ability to see it. When everybody sees that you were unmasked, that's a big problem, especially if you're a superhero. So the ending of Spider-Man: No Way Home, I left the theater like, yeah, that was a pretty fun, uplifting movie, but the ending of it, I was like, ugh, ouch.
No Way Home is such a good movie for so many different reasons. Like it fits so perfectly with like. I will say you did get the two mixed up. No Way Home is the one where all three came in.
Yeah.
And with No Way Home, it wasn't Mysterio.
Mine was Homecoming that I'm thinking of.
Yes, Homecoming was the one with Mysterio where they lost the whole essence of it. But No Way Home, still one of my favorite. All three of them coming back. And with
I do also really like that one when MJ throws the roll. Like you don't have the tingle thing.
Also, like No Way Home was a horrible, sad ending too because no one remembers Peter Parker because of what Strange did to him, right? And the villains of that story were the big villains of the other two Spider-Man movies. You had Green Goblin, you had the Electro, you had Sandman, you had all these great villains from the old Spider-Man movies that all came back together to fight against, and that just made it so much more fun. So I love No Way Home. I know Homecoming was very good, but I love Homecoming.
It's hard for me sometimes when they started going with just the extra titles. I should have just memorized the extra titles instead of remembering what hero they were about. My number one is mainly because of what it signified for the rest of the superhero universe. I love the TV shows that we're getting on Max about the DC, the Titans, the Gotham Knights. I play the Gotham Knights video game. The gritty, R-rated, like mature superhero story was not a thing until the first Deadpool movie came out. From the very opening sequence, and I know that we can debate which Deadpool movie is the best because I love the one that you brought up and I love the Madonna sequence. But from the opening sequence of "Just Call Me Angel of the Morning," as he's blowing people's heads off in slow motion, rolling through the SUV, the salt and pepper break, that was the first time anybody broke the fourth wall. I didn't know what Deadpool was going to be, and it turned into a movie as quotable as the other guys that's also in the superhero universe that also makes fun of all the other superheroes that I love. I wonder whose balls I had to fondle to get this movie. Let's just say he has a nice pair of smooth criminals down under. Like the initial Deadpool is what spawned all of what the superhero that I like now as a 27-year-old. But that was what kept me going from superhero from 18 to 27.
The only argument I will have is that like the early X-Men movies, the early Wolverine movies were pretty intense and were pretty graphic. So that, but the vulgarity, the language, this breaking the fourth wall, that had never been seen before with Ryan Reynolds.
I don't think that we get the resurrection of the Deadpool series on Disney Plus. Obviously, we don't get Marvel getting bought by Disney from That was all the Fox break. Deadpool fixed it. Deadpool united the Marvel universe under one umbrella.
Because of one actor and three movies, they were like, you know what would this character look like with that character?
And I also
like with that character. It was all that just all intertwining, and now we have Doomsday coming up in the next year or 2 years, where all of it would be all together.
I also think that like, you know, putting the love story in the first one was the best. I like the second one, and the time travel at the end montage is pretty cool. But the love story of the first one was the best one. That's the reason why I didn't put Deadpool and Wolverine, because I don't like what he had become after that. And I get what they did in order for the story, but I like to see I like the way that the first one ended. I like the way that the second one ended. The third one, when he's just the friend and he's the lowly, like, I'm not a big fan of Peter Poole. I don't know how you feel about him, but Peter Poole is not my favorite. The initial Deadpool is in my top 5 of superhero movies of all time. So my top 5 goes Kick-Ass, Man of Steel, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Spider-Man, No Way Home / Homecoming, because I mixed the two up, and then Deadpool, the first one. All the Deadpools are really good, but the first one holds a special place in my heart.
All very good. All very, very good. There's enough, like I said, we just listed 10 movies. They're all an hour and a half at minimum. Like if you are living under a rock, superhero movies have taken over the world. And that's because of Stan Lee, because of DC, because of what they've done. Frankly, now thanks to what the boys did, and now what with fucking Invincible has done. Like it's the comic book adaptations. People are realizing, wow, there's some really sick stories out there that people just don't like.
How many people started reading comic books because of what they saw in these animations?
I bought comic books because of these type of movies. I have a couple here at home because of the stories I've seen, and I want to just have them. And they're not even full sets, so it's like it's incredible.
All right, let's wrap things up. Player of the week, and put it up here. Speaking of the Rockies, we do have a good thing to mention with the Rockies, and I know every team in the MLB gets an all-star representative, but this is not just a pity one. Hunter Goodman, the catcher for the Colorado Rockies, who just, I think, set the record since 1923 of the most losses before the All-Star break. Hunter Goodman is going to be the Rockies representative for the All-Star game. He is top 2 in his position for all batting stats in the National League. If you know about catchers in the MLB, you know about the big dumper in Seattle, Cal Raleigh. He's also a catcher that hits for power like Hunter Goodman. But that's AL and NL. Hunter Goodman within top 5 of his position throughout the entire MLB. In a year that we're expecting the Rockies to lose 130 games, he's the one shining moment, one bright spot that we have.
Good. He's a guy to actually know the name of because of how much he's been raking. He's been so good. Obviously, only all-star, top 5 in his position batting stats. He's just been raking. Just absolutely raking. And like I said, the Rockies suck, but if one guy deserved to go, it was him. So don't hate that. Player of the week for me, I went Novak Djokovic. Men's record, 14th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14th Wimbledon semis he is in. Only has dropped 2 sets so far. Faces the number 1 seed, Jannik Sinner, the Italian, in the semis. The Joker in the tennis world is already on a league in a league of his own. Obviously, everyone is trying to just catch him now. He's a bit older, so now these young guys are chomping the bits. The Alcarazes of the world, the Ben Sheltons of the world, the Jannik Sinners of the world. Djokovic is still on top of his game for a reason, and he has a chance to. Like, if he keeps winning a Wimbledon title this year, keeps winning these major titles the next couple of years. We're not even having conversations of who's better between Federer and Nadal. It's Djokovic above them all. So the Joker has been incredible.
Going from the best back down to the worst. Bench warmer of the week. I mentioned that I've been watching the quarterback series. The fact that they went out and got Kirk Cousins, this is how I know Peyton Manning has a sense of humor and he understands all of these sequences that him and his Omaha Productions put together of Kirk Cousins. He started the first season of quarterback. He is not the opening sequence of the second season, but everything that he does, like we've mentioned it, I've been going to Great Clips for 20 years. Yeah, that makes sense. He's saying the same exact things. Like, I think that he still has the nameplate on his desk in his home office. So it's his house, and he has a nameplate to show whoever comes into his house's home office that his name is Kirk Cousins. Corny athletes on the top of my bench warmer of the week list because Kirk Cousins just doesn't get social cues the way that the rest of us do. It's odd.
Yep, absolutely. He fits right in. My bench warmer, I teased it earlier in the episode. If you don't know what this guy's name is, now you do. Michael Tellem, the agent for Jonas Valanciunas. So let's talk about a couple of malpractices he did here. He decided he was going to join in negotiations with Papa, now whatever, in Greece, and negotiate a contract with him. Without, by the way, the Greek team knowing that he's actually under contract and he won't be able to play there unless crazy things happen. So he did decide to do that. Then, by the way, he also didn't communicate to the Denver Nuggets before this trade happened that he is considering leaving. So another malpractice there. And then he decides to scrub his name off of all social media because he knows of all the fuck ups he did. Michael, tell him. Tough week. Absolutely tough week.
I've been like trying to do the right things before, and he looks like a young guy. He looks like somebody that might not know the ramifications of everything that he's doing. But you are also a professional sports agent. You are trying to negotiate a contract in a league that your player's not in and can't be in for another 2 seasons unless we'll see how this season goes. But like we were saying at the beginning, when you sign a contract, there are stipulations. There are certain requirements that you have to meet, and you know the requirements, and you did everything against all of those.
Not the smartest man on the block. I cannot emphasize enough the malpractice agencies. Sorry, as I'm dying over here choking right at the end of the show. The malpractice he did, and like obviously it's hurting Valinciunus, it's hurting the Nuggets. Obviously, in offseason, the Nuggets were hoping for big things from Valinciunus, big things from Cam Johnson. Big things from Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, Summer League starting tonight with Jaron Holmes as well. All of this has been I basically punched in the eye with an eye back because the whole Valinciunus situation. So hopefully it solved itself out. But Michael Tellum learned some hard lessons this week, is all I'm going to say, about how the NBA works and how they should not mess with the man.
All right, real quickly, so you can get back to your movie. But what is your play of the week? Because you haven't even told me.
I don't even know what it is or what player it was. But there was a walk-off inside the park home run last night from the Giants game. I don't know who the player is. That I'll let you give me that part. But I remember seeing that being like inside the park. Like apparently the ball went off of
it was the top of the wall, but even still,
in San Francisco and ran the whole way. It was against the Phillies, and boy, oh boy, walk-off homers are cool.
Patrick Bailey.
Walk-off inside the park home runs are nuts. So that was my play of the week.
Yeah, I was gonna go baseball. I'm not really watching a ton of sports. I'm watching more quarterback than anything, so I could bring in one of those Jamar Chase plays that I was talking about at the beginning. But I've been watching WWE. I'm still up to date with it. My play of the week. Did you see the opening promo with Rollins Group? And it was different the way that it's set up. But they set it up the same way where Rollins is going to be the main one that talks. And when the microphone went to the side, when Heyman was trying to hand it off, Breaker jumped in front. So it was like a positive thing that I saw. They're not just going to bury Braun Breaker into this Batista role where he doesn't talk anything until he's by himself. He's still talking. That was a great promo that he cut.
I love it. Shoot Braun Breaker to the freaking moon. He's incredible.
How he never made it, unless he decided that he just didn't want to try for the NFL, how he never made it in professional sports with as fast and athletic and as explosive as he is. And I've seen his college football highlights as a running back from Kent State. He could have played for some team in the NFL. And
at least made it a practice squad or something. Maybe he was. I just think maybe he was the wrong position. Maybe he should have been a linebacker instead of running back. But
yeah, no, that
speed too. Like maybe he was the wrong position, but he's an animal, an absolute freaking nature.
Yeah, it was his.
I mean, his younger brother is wasn't he at IMG? I can't remember. Maybe it's. I remember it was something freaking something Steiner. Maybe you play. Oh, I think he played for CU actually.
Hudson and Maverick Rex Steiner.
I think didn't they play for CU or was it they played something in Miami or something? They were playing in college football. I remember hearing that at a D1, big D1 school. I think it's his brothers or maybe it's his cousins. I don't remember.
The bad thing is when you look up Braun Breaker, the only thing that comes up are his dad and his uncle.
Yeah.
Early life.
Because I remember like seeing Rick Steiner's son, and I was like, "Isn't also Braun Breaker his son?" So maybe it's his brother. I don't know. It's a whole family tree of just badasses.
No and they're freaking athletic as hell and dynamic. Being able to talk on the mic, it's all good. That's play of the week. Like we said, there isn't much going on, so we had to scrounge for play of the week. But player and bench warmer still ring true. Sing us a song, you're the piano man. I'm buying my piano tonight. I will be watching my YouTube videos throughout the weekend, I will get over whatever wrist. I have a different wrist injury than Joe Burrow had. I didn't tear all of those ligaments trying to throw a football, but we'll see. There's a lot of yanking that goes on that trimmer that I have to use every day.
That's exactly where it came from. Exactly. Yep, exactly.
It was the wildest comment I've ever heard of professional athletes. I learned piano so that I can get over my wrist injury. Nice. All right.
Nice. Yes.
That's going to do it for episode 238 of the Far End of the Bench. Hopefully everybody enjoyed rocking with us. We had a ton of people joining in live. If you missed any part of it, you'll be able to go back, watch the whole video on our YouTube channel, and listen to the entire thing anywhere you listen to podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, leave a 5-star rating and review, jump in the comments. We'll be replying to as many people as we can. With the school year starting back up, I'll be a little bit more focused indoors in front of my technology, so there'll be more content coming out. But we've enjoyed this little bit of a break in the summer, and the fact that we have as many of you benchwarmers tuning in as possible when we do go, it's nice to know. So great episode. Anything else you got for the people before we send them off for their weekend?
For joining along, obviously, I'm in Chicago this weekend. I'm for Chicago tomorrow, so I'm excited to get to that part of the country, back in the Midwest. It's throwback weekend, so the jerseys are pretty sick this year. If you want to look.
Damn it! I liked when they had Denver be a throwback weekend.
It was so much fun when the throwbacks were in here in Denver. It's unfortunate, but throwbacks are in Chicago this weekend, so it should be fun. The throwbacks are pretty sick. We got a sick jersey with a little, basically a bear that looks like the same bear as last year. It's the one that looks like the Grateful Dead bear, basically, is the cross stick. So it's pretty sick. So I'm excited to get to Chicago, and then obviously we'll have a lot more talk about. We are less than a month away now from being in Denver. So we'll have a lot to talk about that too in the upcoming weeks. And
we'll get a Superman review. You will tell me whether or not I should.
And I will get you a Fantastic Four review because I will be watching that the first second I can.
Yeah. That's his weird, not weird, but that's his off the beaten path superhero group that Nico really likes is the Fantastic Four. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I've been watching the freaking comics on Disney Plus. They have the comic book show from 1990 on there that I've been watching. That's how deep dive I am in this Fantastic Four stuff.
Chris Evans ruined the Fantastic Four for me, but that's going to be my hot take for the rest of the episode. Be sure to follow, subscribe, everything. Episode 238 of the Far End of the Bench podcast. Myself, Jimmy Pilato, Nico Bryant. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
If you don't stay down and you never quit, come on over here and sit on the far end of the bench.